Hey soldiers, China and the United States, the relationship between the two continues to deteriorate. Now, if you look back a few years, we've got some information for you that shows China did something with balloon test that if this is what they were trying to duplicate here in the United States, then it's extremely disturbing and it's an indicator of where they want to go, and it's not a good place. So let's start with the fact that the lines of communication are starting to break down. And some might say, hey, why are you covering China? Because this is one of the biggest economic issues out there. Do you know that without Chinese exports of medications, America would not be able to cure a headache? Okay, we're talking acetaminophen, heparin, we're talking penicillin, basic but very vital pharmaceuticals, and that's just the start of what we're getting from China. Now, remember, the United States, we really aren't a huge threat in terms of cutting off exports or things that we export out of our country and others import from us. Because really all we export in terms of the largest, most important resource that we export is petroleum products, okay? And we see the world struggling with that right now. However, there are other countries that are producing petroleum products, and Saudi Arabia is undergoing somewhat of a realignment right now with China. So besides our poisonous culture, all right, I remember a time when the Grammys were actually a family show, and we sat down as a family and watched Lionel Richie sing, okay? Besides our poisonous culture, because we export the hell out of that, and war, what else do we really export and give to the world? Now, let's get into what happened here after the balloon incident. Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin reached out to his counterpart in China, and China refused to take the phone call. After the United States shot down China's spy balloon on Saturday, China refused a request for a call between Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and his counterpart Wei Feng, a sharp escalation in tensions during an already tenuous period in U.S.-China relations. Now, let me go back here. It was a spy balloon, okay? China's saying it was a weather balloon. That's total BS. And let me tell you how I know this. First of all, they've got weather in China. China has an incredibly large landmass. They want to test some weather. They could do it there. They have allies in the world. They can maybe go to some of the African countries that they have reached alignment with and test the weather over there. That's number one. Number two is they're saying this balloon went off course. Off course? That's a hell of a navigation error to get from China to Montana. Okay, so no, I'm not buying the weather balloon thing at all. On Saturday, February 4th, immediately after taking action to down the People's Republic of China balloon, the U.S. Department of Defense submitted a request for a secure call between Secretary Austin and People's Republic of China Minister of National Defense, Wei Fenghi. And if I'm pronouncing this guy's name wrong, somebody let me know. Wei Fenghi, I'm not quite sure, but that's the equivalent of the Secretary of Defense over in China. We believe in the importance of maintaining open lines of communication between the United States and the People's Republic of China in order to responsibly manage the relationship. Lines between our militaries are particularly important in moments like this. Unfortunately, the People's Republic of China has declined our request. Our commitment to open lines of communication will continue. This is according to a statement released by the Pentagon Press Secretary, Brigadier General Patrick Ryder. China was upset about us blowing up the balloon. We'll get to that in a second. They have really some audacity, don't they? On Tuesday, China said it will resolutely safeguard its legitimate rights and interests. Well, China, you do not have a legitimate right to fly a balloon over another country's airspace. And I know that you may have been confused about that because of the lackadaisical attitude of Joe Biden, but you try to fly that balloon over the United States of America at an altitude that's within rifle range, and it's going to come down a lot sooner than what bumbling Biden brought it down. Now, when the balloon came in, okay, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken canceled what was an anticipated visit to Beijing. He said, no, I'm not going. Some people say, well, yeah, this was designed to give him an excuse not to go. Maybe. Look, I don't know. Okay, but it's not like the United States put the balloon up. China has copped to it. Now, people were hoping that visit would improve relations with China, but that visit's not going to happen right now. It's been postponed. All right, China's out there insisting that this balloon was for meteorological purposes. Their foreign ministry spokesperson, Mao Ning, reiterated on Tuesday that the unmanned airship posed no threat and accidentally entered U.S. airspace. You don't get to determine what poses a threat to the United States. That's our determination to make China. Mao said that the U.S. overreacted instead of conducting itself in a calm, professional manner. No, the U.S. Pretty much allowed your balloon to traverse the United States and didn't molest it until it exited the country and was over the Atlantic Ocean. The balloon does not belong to the U.S. The Chinese government will continue to resolutely safeguard its legitimate rights and interests. Listen, my car does not belong to my neighbor, but if I park it in his driveway, then he's got every right to tow it if I'm being recalcitrant, unresponsive, or repeatedly display this behavior. So China, you understand that. Tensions between the U.S. and China have been the source of concern for U.S. lawmakers and many allies who worry that an outright conflict with Beijing would lead to economic disaster and further solidify their relationship with Russia. Indeed, that could lead to problems. They purchase a lot of our debt still, although they are looking to diversify. We talked about the pharmaceutical piece earlier, but it's also no mystery that China wants Taiwan back and is preparing for a military conflict with the United States of America. And I firmly believe that's going to happen within the next 2 years because we have a weak, addled president who basically just showed China that he's going to be slow to respond to our own national security here in America, let alone Taiwan, a country half a world away. Now, over in Taiwan, you've got the head of their Central Weather Bureau, Chengming Dan. He's saying, look, in the meteorological world, I haven't found one person who has seen or heard of a weather balloon that looks like this. So, yeah, it's not a weather balloon, folks. Now, what is it? Well, that is kind of disconcerting, what it very well may be. Back in 2018, China tested some hypersonic weapons on a platform suspended beneath a balloon. Now, the stunning footage, and let's see if we can get this for you. The stunning footage displays a high-altitude balloon, not dissimilar from the one that traversed over the United States last week, carrying 3 hypersonic glide vehicles into high altitude and dropping them for testing. Chinese state broadcaster CCTV reported on the weapons test in September of 2018. The footage has since been deleted from Chinese media, but photographs and short clips can still be found online. In one post from 2018, a Twitter user shared footage from Douyin, China's version of TikTok, which shows the balloon lifting the 3 hypersonic missiles from the ground. So we have definitive proof that China has used balloons, at least for test purposes, in weapons testing. Okay, and they've mounted these hypersonic missiles, which, if coupled with nuclear warheads detonated at high altitude, could certainly initiate an electromagnetic pulse over the United States of America, which would literally take us back to the Stone Ages. You don't have to believe me. I encourage you to do some independent research on that. This is very disconcerting, as I said before. I don't know what China is up to here, but again, just think about how they would have reacted if we had flown a device over their airspace. All right, China actually set the precedent for this a long, long time ago. Back in 1964, Peking announced that the Chinese Communist Air Force had shot down a pilotless United States reconnaissance plane. The incident took place yesterday over central South China, according to Shenzhou, the Chinese press agency. A pilotless high-altitude reconnaissance military plane of U.S. imperialism intruding into Chinese territorial airspace over the area of central South China on November 15th, again 1964, was shot down by the Air Force of the Chinese People's Liberation Army. So they don't have any problem shooting down things that stray into their airspace, okay? But now here we are, 55 years later, close to 60 years later, and they apparently have forgotten this or are acting like they have and are up in arms, righteously indignant about us shooting down a balloon that invaded our airspace. I think it's righteous indignation that is pretty fake, giving them a reason to kind of tamp back on relations with us, maybe as a prelude to war. We will continue to monitor this situation because, again, it has a economic impact to it all the way around. I want to direct your attention to a report we did on danger for the dollar. Okay, as more countries look at the dollar and say, let's diversify. What are they diversifying with? Well, watch this report and it'll be made clear to you guys. I'll talk to you soon.